you guys, welcome to Rosina Ranch Paint Nights with Lisa. I see a few of you guys are on here. If anyone is new, just to let you know, there's going to be a little chat feature on the right hand side of your screen, and that's going to let you ask any questions that you may have throughout the painting. Also, just let you know there's about a 15-second delay from when I can respond, so just give it a little bit of time. And while we're painting, if you ever get behind and you need to just have us hold on for a minute, go ahead and just type in H. Hi, Jade. And that will just tell me just hold on just a little bit longer. And of course, if I ask you a question, just type in Y for yes. Or if you guys have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer that while we're painting. So jumping right in, if you guys have your kits with you, we're going to go over what is included in the kit this week. All right. And we have our 8x10 canvas. Okay, I'm going to open this up. And we are going to be using our wax mixing sheets and our paints and our paint brushes this week. So we have our number one, or our 1-inch chip brush. Just make sure you kind of get any loose hairs out of there because they will get stuck to the paint later. We also have our mini chisel brush. And tonight we're going to be using a basic primary blue, a primary yellow, a primary red, a primary, white, and we're going to go ahead and cover our entire canvas first in solid black. So let me go ahead and open these up. And if you have not done so already, please go ahead and fill up your water cups. You're going to need to do that before we get ready. Before we get started. Hopefully everybody had a great time. 4th of July just happened. Yay! That's my dad's birthday, so this year was a little different because we always spend the night out on the beach and we camp, but because of everything going on, that was not an option this year, which was kind of a bummer, but we still had a good time. And of course, he thinks the fireworks are for him every single time, because he was born on the 4th of July, so that's pretty awesome. My dad's spoiled every year. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move to my desktop so you guys can see what we're working with here. Alright, as you guys can see, we have our 8x10 canvas, and I have it laid out, not portrait, but landscape. So what that means, when I say landscape, it's going to go, the longest side is going to go side to side, not up and down, but side to side. So go ahead and put your canvas in the landscape position. Alright. I'm just going to ask if you are ready, just go ahead and give me a Y in the chat if you can. I'll give you guys a little bit more time. And what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for that is I'm going to go ahead and load up without dipping in water. Keep your brush dry, but I'm going to load up that number, or that 1-inch chip brush in my black paint. And as you guys can see, we have a reference photo down on the right hand side. This is going to be an easy one where we just kind of talk about shapes on water and just doing some really easy techniques to get those beautiful fireworks going. Alright, so I loaded up my brush, my dry 1-inch chip brush, and let's just go ahead and completely saturate our canvas. Doesn't matter if you go up or down, side to side, just as long as you are completely getting your canvas. Make sure your brush is dry when you begin, so it's not a watered down black. You want that black to be super strong. Yep, making sure just covering all your areas. After this, I'm going to make sure I get my sides as well. I just want to make sure I get my top first. Okay, I'm loading up my paintbrush again. Remember, you can go side to side or up or down, doesn't matter. Hopefully you guys had an awesome 4th of July. So proud to be an American, even during these quarantine times. And you know, it's funny because as we were driving home, I'd say it was around midnight, my husband and I, we made a bet how many fireworks we were going to see go off on our drive home. And I bet 3 fireworks because it was midnight, and he bet 5 fireworks. Well, we both majorly lost that bet because people were going crazy with the big fireworks. We probably saw, we lost count a little after 100. So you guys were having a really good time. Well, some people were at midnight because those fireworks were going off. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure all this canvas is covered, and while I'm doing this, my fingers are going to get dirty, but let's go ahead and make sure we get all the canvas. We're going to make sure it's gallery wrap, which means the paint is going to go all the way off the sides. And because of this heat, this acrylic should be drying fairly quickly, so I'm not anticipating us needing to use a blow dryer today. I think that our palettes are going to dry, our canvas is going to dry super fast today. Whew. If you guys are in the Rosina Ranch area, tonight would be a great night for the pool. Alright. Just go ahead and make sure every little inch is completely covered in that black paint. Remember, we don't want to dip the brush in the water just yet because we don't want to water down this paint. We want it to be true black, and we just want to make it a nice solid color. I'm going to go ahead and put that back down. Remember, I'm putting this down and we're going to be painting this landscape, which means long ways side to side. Just going to go over that, making sure I don't have any huge globs of paint sitting there. That's going to take me a long time to dry. But after I get that, we can just give it a few minutes while we just chit chat and get our other paints ready. Alright, let me move this so you guys can see this better. Alright, Lisa, can you see the stream right now, or are you not having any luck? Can everybody see the stream? I'm going to also type this. Can everybody see the picture, what we're doing? There's no glitches right now. I just asked you guys a question on the chat feature if you guys could see. So I'll make sure everybody can see everything going on. There was one week where we had a glitch and it started and then it stopped and then it restarted. So I want to make sure everybody can see. Alright, perfect. Alright, you guys, while I give that time to dry, just make sure you go ahead and you clean out your chip brush, and you're probably going to have to go anyways and get a new water cup after this because we are going to be coloring this water pretty thick here. But this chip brush needs to be completely cleaned, so go ahead and give it a really good hard scrub. You want to go all the way to the bottom and really get that paint out of there because we don't want to see that paint in there. Alright, make sure you use your napkin and fully dry your chip brush. You don't want it to still be wet. Not for what we're doing, at least. So make sure that's really dry, and right now, because I'm still going to give this a few minutes to dry, let's go ahead and change out our water while we're waiting for our canvas to dry. Alright, I am back. Go ahead and put the water back here. Okay, guys. So as we're waiting for this to dry, I'm starting to see some areas dry. It's probably going to give it about a few more minutes. So we'll just give you guys some extra time to make sure you get all those sides covered. And I will open it up to any questions anyone has at this moment. If you guys want to ask anything, what we're working on, maybe what you guys did 4th of July. I'm always jealous because I don't really know what happens in the ranch on 4th of July. I'm always just out and about, so I don't know how you guys party, if you guys do block parties. I heard there used to be a really big block party over on Valerian, but I've never been. We just kind of, you know, go out to my mom's house and we'll do sparklers, or we'll be at the beach with sparklers. But by far the best thing 4th of July has to be roasting marshmallows. And funny thing is, next week we're going to be doing a campfire, so it just makes me want marshmallows even more. So I'll let you guys paint that, make sure it gets dry, but if you guys just want to chat for a minute, if you guys are finished and you guys just want to answer, what did you guys do for 4th of July? How did you celebrate? And I'll switch back here to my desk so you don't have to see me just staring at the screen. And you can use that reference photo. Alright. Now we do want to make sure that this gets completely dry, because if we start putting on white and bright yellow and bright red, we're going to get some mucky colors. Some yucky, mucky colors. No fun there. And this is, I thought, a really great beginner painting because it's so simple, but yet it looks so cool. And we're celebrating 4th of July, and it's just a really nice introduction to reflections and water, too. And I think anybody can do it. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys will feel the same way. I know some of you are doing this together, parents and children, which is totally awesome. And remember, if you guys need any time where you just need extra time, just put H on the chat. Or if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and ask too. But as you can see right now, that light's bouncing off my canvas. I still have a lot of shine going on, but it is slowly going away. I'm so glad I can actually talk normal right now, because as some of you probably know, I had a root canal today, so if you picked up paint, my face was all swollen. Alright, Jade, I don't like the big fireworks, but we did the strokes. Did you already go ahead and try to do the fireworks already? Or are you just saying which firework you like? Yeah, I think my favorite firework out of all of them is the one that bursts and it looks like gold dust, but it kind of looks like a palm tree coming down. And it keeps coming down with like lots of gold dust sparkles. That's my favorite one. Alright, it's starting to dry. If you guys have like a piece of paper near you and you just want to kind of move it along too, I would suggest that. So I'm going to go ahead and get out a palette I have, and I'm going to start drying this. Or if you do have a blow dryer next to you, this would be an awesome time to pull out the blow dryer. Alright. We just have to make sure that this is completely dry before we move on. Jade, what's your favorite firework? You know, I do like the ones that they have the shapes, like the little hearts, or they try and do shapes with the fireworks, but for some reason they always end up upside down or sideways, so. Oh, it sounds like somebody just lit one off. It's not 4th of July, but they don't care. Oh, right, yeah. I like the finale when they do the tiny little ones popping everywhere. Alright. It's slowly getting there. As you can see, my canvas is not so shiny. But if you have a blow dryer, just go ahead and this would be the perfect time to use it. I just do not have it next to me because my daughter took a shower and borrowed it. Alright. Does anybody else have any 4th of July traditions that you guys always do every single year? Any cool traditions? So I'm just going to dry this while you guys are finishing up or drying it. Almost there. And make sure you guys really wash out that chip brush and make sure it's completely dry, because we do need to use this, just the very tips, but we need to make sure it's dry when we use those tips. Okay. Alright. I'm getting close. I got my fan on. It's nice and hot in the room. Should be drying pretty quick. And usually when you use acrylics, you guys will notice it does dry pretty fast. But if you do leave it on a little thick, it might not dry for the entire day. All right. All right, guys, so I think it's about ready to go. Hopefully you all have your canvases painted black. And we're going to move on. We're going to use our dried chip brush. And what we're going to start off with is just very lightly dipping only the tips. And when I mean only the tips, literally just lightly dipping the tips into your paint. So let's get ready with that. Let me show you my desktop. And we are going to go from left to right. So I'm going to start over here with our blue first. As you can see, it's a little bit shiny still. I see the streaks. But that should go away pretty quick. I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chip brush and I'm very lightly going to dip it into my blue. Just ever so lightly. And I'll show you what I mean. If you guys can see that, there's almost no paint on my chip brush. It's almost not even there. So I'm going to start while this is dry and just kind of figure out, I want to go about the size of an orange. Think of an orange. So I'm just going to go ahead and plop it down and start wiggling back and forth. See, I don't have very much paint, but that's perfect because I don't want it to really look thick. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to barely dip my paintbrush in the blue, and I'm going to start maybe right here. And I want it to be about the size of an orange. So about this size, but I'm just going to keep wiggling it back and forth in a zigzag if you think of a zigzag. But I want to do it about the same size of an orange. And I'm going to go and I'm going to dip some more paint. And I got a little bit too much paint, so I'm going to dip that on the wax paper just to get rid of some extra paint. And again, I'm just going to zigzag back and forth about the size of an orange. You can even go off the canvas a little bit, because remember, that just makes it look a little bit more realistic. And you guys can kind of see that. Alright, well, since I'm sticking with the blue, I'm going to go ahead and grab my small chisel brush. Oh, I always have a good 4th of July. That's because it's my daddy's birthday. And he is my favorite person. Well, besides my mom. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just dip our chisel brush ever so lightly into our blue paint. Okay, and we're going to use just the edge. So make sure you're just putting it straight down. And we're just going to use the edge, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you to make a small X. Anywhere you like in your orange, just make a little X. And then what I do after I have my X is I just do one line straight down, just to kind of make a little burst of color. Almost like a star, but it's got a little extra leg. It's just a little burst of color. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do this a few more times. So just take the edge of that chisel brush and again make that X. And then one straight line down. And you can do this however many times you like, because remember, every painting looks totally different. Mine should not look like yours necessarily. Yours shouldn't look like mine. We all make our own. I'm going to just keep going about every inch, making that X and having a line come down. Just that burst of color. Okay, we're going to come do another one over here. You can make it kind of go off if you want. It's going off. It is a huge burst of color. It's up to you. You can add as many of these little guys as you like. It's just one of the styles of fireworks that I see. Okay, and for me, I feel like that's a good amount of stars for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chisel brush and just dip another small amount of paint. And right now I'm going to kind of draw out little lines, little burst of color. So somewhere in the middle, coming out, just do a little bit of lines. It could go over your stars, doesn't matter. Just add in some burst of color. And I'm happy with my bursts of color. So now, if you guys ever watch, like you're anticipating that firework to go shooting up into the sky, sometimes it leaves that little trail behind. And so we're going to start, if you guys can imagine your water, maybe about 2-3 inches from the bottom of your canvas is going to be our water line. So I just kind of want to, and what you can do actually, if you want to take the tip of your chisel brush and kind of score, you can kind of just lightly draw out where you think your water line is going to be. And you can use that as a reference later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go where I think that water is going to be, and I just want to do a small line up, showing that firework just shooting up. And then I'm going to maybe add a few more lines, because some of those bigger fireworks have multiple parts to it, so they're all shooting up at once. So I'm going to draw 3 lines for that guy. And then, putting a little bit more paint, this is where we talk about the reflection of the water. I'm always at the beach on 4th of July. And one of the coolest things is no matter how pitch black the sky is and the water is, it just lights up so pretty. when it hits that water. So what I want to do is I have that imaginary or that tiny little line sketched out right here that I used this side to just kind of make my invisible line. And right where it's shooting up, I kind of just want to give it a little line of color, just a little line. And as it kind of travels, as it's traveling up, it's really, really skinny. There's not much light, but then as you see, it has a burst. So as it gets farther away from the horizon, this is what we call the horizon, where the sky meets the water. Once we get up to the burst, we kind of got to give it a little bit of a colorful shadow in the water, or I shouldn't say shadow, burst of color in the water. So I kind of want to make my lines get a little bit larger as we get to the bottom of our canvas. You see that? Because as it's hitting that water, as it's traveling up, it's getting bigger. Our reflection in the water is getting a little bit larger. But I like to start with a little bit longer of a line just to start with, and then having it get really skinny, and then having our lines, our reflection in the water get a little bit larger. As it's traveling up, it's traveling down. Okay, and go ahead and clean out your chisel brush. Clean it out well. And we will move to the next color, which is going to be our red. Alright, make sure that's nice and dry. And let's go ahead and just lightly dip our brush, our chisel brush, into the red. Okay, and I'm just going to say this one's going to be a little bit further away, but I want it right next to my blue one. I'm going to start with a straight line up, and then from here I kind of just want it to shower down, kind of like those palm tree ones that you see. I'm just going to have it kind of spread out like a flower. But I'm going to do this a bunch of times. I'm going to give it tons and tons of petals. You could say, you can call them petals. And it's going to kind of fade back into my black because I don't want this to be too strong. It's just going to keep fading. So I'm just going to go over and over. At this point, just keep brushing in extra petals just so it gets that color on that background. Maybe grab some more paint. And I'm going to go over again. This time, the second time around, I got a little bit more paint on my brush. And I'm making more noticeable petals. And as you can see, there's not enough paint right there, so I am going to grab some more paint so it's nice and bright and vibrant. You're going to want your paint a little bit thicker, so then when it dries it'll show a little bit more. Okay, kind of happy. Maybe have these drag down a little bit more for me. I'm going to grab some more red paint, and I'm going to do that little trail from the horizon. So I'm going to start down here where it meets my water, that little invisible line I drew. And I'm just going to do a small line up. Make sure you're using the edge of your chisel brush, so you're just lightly, lightly touching. And once all these dry, we're going to go in and add a little bit of highlights with our white. But let's go down here, put a little bit more paint on our brush. And let's go down here in the water. And again, we're going to start with a small line, just where it touches. And we're going to get skinny again, a little bit. Now we're going to really see that color start to show on our water. We could start blending even into our blue, because in the water all the colors kind of do tend to mix with each other. And if that's not bright enough for you, I say just dip back into that red and kind of go over those lines in the water just so that it pops that much more. And remember, it can go into that blue just a little bit. So we're going to have a color right next to it. This is going to be our yellow. I'm going to go ahead and wash out my brush really well. Make sure I get all that red out. I'm going to dry my chisel brush really well. And we're going to go ahead and dip that into our yellow. Alright. This one's going to be a little bit bigger. It might overlap the red a little bit, which is fine. And we're going to do the same technique where we start with kind of a palm tree. If you think of a palm tree, you can just do a straight line down, and then you can kind of make it like a star. It's got these little legs. Kind of like a little, yeah, like a little star. Start like a little, like a skinny starfish. Alright, and if it goes off the canvas, that's cool. These are the big ones. I'm thinking this is my favorite one, that gold dust one that just kind of falls down like a palm tree. So if you just want to start there, you could just go ahead and start giving yourselves lots and lots of petals, like a flower, coming down everywhere. Even getting into that red. Just be careful you're not getting into the wet part of your red, otherwise it'll draw in and make your firework a little bit orange looking. So just be careful. If you are going to go into that red, make sure you're going into a dry part of that red. I'm adding some more paint just so that it pops a little bit more. You get more color going on. And with this one, I'm thinking it's the gold dust that really, really likes to kind of sparkle as it comes down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put paint on my very, very tip of my chisel brush and not put too much, because what I really want to do is kind of dry brush it. So if you dip it a little bit onto your wax paper to get the excess paint off. And with this one, I kind of want to just very, very lightly, just lightly tap it. Because if you lightly tap it, it kind of looks like sparkle dust, fairy dust. There we go. Just looks like little dust. Pockets of dust. Or glitter. So I'm going to do that all the way around. And again, this is about the size of a small orange. I'm just going to do this all the way around. Okay? And again, we're going to have to use this little invisible line and put a little bit more paint, but I'm going to go from that invisible line all the way up, making it look like that firework is shooting off into the sky all at once. This is our grand finale. And we're going to start at that water line again. Do a small brush stroke, probably about an inch, and then just tiny, tiny little brush strokes. And as we get out into the water, of course, that yellow just starts to flood into that water. And you just see yellow streaking across. See, I got a little bit of red, so I'm going to make sure I clean off my brush. I don't want to be making orange, but I still want to add a little bit more yellow because I want it to be a little bit more bright where that water is. So I'm going to add some yellow paint and really just drag some bright yellow streaks into my water. Okay, I'm liking that. I really like that. Man, wish we had more fireworks shows. Alright. And when I used to live in Ontario at Westwind, they used to put on a huge firework display. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to Westwind, but they used to put on a majorly huge show. We'd watch it from our house. Okay, go ahead and clean off that chisel brush, and we're going to go ahead and do white. And then after we get all of our white done, we're going to go ahead and add highlights into all the rest of the fireworks. Just kind of makes everything pop. So let's go ahead and dip that into our white. Now with the white, you need to be a little bit more careful. We're not going to add so many streaks because it'll start looking gray or muted, which is dull. So I'm going to come a little bit below, see like the center, I'm going to come a little bit below and start it here. And we're going to kind of do that flower, so maybe a small streak up and maybe a very long streak, round that down, kind of curve it down, and then maybe give it some arms like a starfish. I can even have it go off the canvas. Kind of give that, I say give that skinny starfish some arms. There you go. Looks like a skinny starfish. And make sure I have enough paint on my chisel brush. And I'm going to go ahead and add just a few more arms. I don't want to get too crazy with this. Like I said, when you start adding too much white, it kind of will just fade in and look like a big thing of white. And sometimes that's not what we're going for. At least not right now. Maybe give it a few more legs. And really, that's all I want. I just want that one to be a little burst of color. And while you have some paint on your chisel brush, before you go ahead and dip it, just again like we did with the yellow, just go ahead and lightly touch all around like glitter. Just little sparkles of glitter or color. Kind of in a circle around it. There you go. Hopefully you guys are nice and relaxed because this is an easy one. So you guys should be just feeling good about this. Super easy. And again, I want to find my invisible horizon line, which is again where the water meets the sky. And I'm just going to do a tiny little streak of him traveling up to get to that point. Okay, we've got to hold. So I'm going to hold on for a minute. If you guys want right now to just intensify that white and really make it pop, you can retrace with some paint. Just retrace those little arms. I'm just retracing those arms. I don't know if you guys can hear my kitty. She doesn't like it when I close doors. She's crying right now. Alright, Jade, just go ahead and let me know when you're ready and you have that white part down. Make sure you're not picking up any color on your white paint. If you are picking up color, make sure you wash that out. Got a little extra hair there. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of time to catch up. I'm going to dip this again in my white to get to work on the water. And again, I'm going to look for my invisible horizon line. And I want to just maybe do a small line about 1 inch And then again, tiny, tiny little lines. And then we're going to start to make them larger. Remember, this is a big burst of color, so it could go into that yellow. In fact, it looks even better if you go into that yellow. And if you go off on the side of your canvas, you can just kind of make sure you get some white streaking across on the sides of your canvas. So like, I'm just carrying over a little bit of white on my canvas. Okay. And now that we have white on our paintbrush, we can go ahead and do little highlights. And of course, our blue is drier than any of the others, so let's go ahead and, without adding any more paint, there's a little bit of paint on here, but we're going to kind of do those little white glitter specks. So we're just going to lightly just touch down on the white, just in a few places. Because a lot of these fireworks, they're not just one color, they have gotten very creative over the years. And they've got these beautiful bursts of color. And you know what? You might decide, I like my blue, I don't want to add any white. That's perfectly fine. It's your painting. You could do any color you want. You could have mixed your colors and done purple. You could do green. You could do whatever you want. It does not have to be exactly like mine. In fact, I encourage you to make it unique. And like I said, I just put a few little drops in there. And while my brush is a little dry, it doesn't have much paint, I'm going to just lightly go over, and just very lightly, while this, it's almost like dry brushing. There's almost no paint, and I'm just going to very lightly go over my streak going up, my firework streak. And again, if I feel comfortable, if I feel like there's still a little bit of paint on my brush, very lightly, it's almost like dry brushing, I just want to add in a few streaks of white into my red, because it actually just makes it that much more defined. And I did get a little bit of color on that, so I'm going to go ahead right now and wash out my chisel brush because I don't want color mixed in with my white. So make sure you really clean that out. Make sure your chisel brush is very, very dry. You do not want any water on this. You want a dry brush look. Get a very small amount of white. You can tap some paint off onto your wax paper if you've got too much. Then again, I'm going to come in and, just like I did here, just lightly dry brush some highlights. Oh, see, that was a little bit too much paint. Brush in some highlights into this yellow one. But I still love it. Maybe a little bit of white coming up. And if you guys take a step back, that was really, really easy, right? I mean, you guys figured out how to make really quick and easy fireworks. And then you've got your horizon right down here. Now you've got your reflection into your water, and you just see that that water just gets streaked and colored. And you kind of see, like, it looks streaky because there's little ripples in the water, because the water is just never still. So that's why it looks streaky, because you're going to see those little ripples. And when you get little ripples in the water, the light's going to pick up on those ripples. And that's why it's going to look like that. And it's that easy. I hope you guys love your paintings. I hope you guys thought this was really, really easy this week. And remember, now would be a good time just to kind of lift it up and check your sides of your canvas. Make sure you completely covered them in your black paint. And if you did go off the sides of your canvas, make sure you want to continue that on. That'll look that much more professional. And if you would like to sign your name, you can do so. I would probably sign it over here on the left-hand corner because it's nice and dark with my white paint. So I'm going to do that right now. If you still have a tiny brush from the previous week, you can use that. Otherwise, sometimes I just like to use the edge, the other side of my paintbrush. But I do have to load it up a few times to do my initials. So you can use a fine little brush, or you can just use the back end of your brush. That will work too. Alright. And you guys, that was it. Super easy. Did everybody get a chance to finish? Are you guys still working on it? Remember, don't overthink it. Sometimes when you just do simple streaks and you keep wanting to add more, sometimes you just need to take a step back and look at your picture, and then you realize, hey, I don't need to keep adding more. That looks really good the way it is, because it's a lot harder to try and cover up stuff after you've added it. You can always add more. So I always say, take a step back, look at it, and sometimes you need to even step back further because you think you need more details, but then you realize from a distance, hey, you know what? That looks exactly the way I want it to look. And you guys, I absolutely would love to see your versions, how it came out. If you guys go on the YouTube channel, there's an About Me page, and there's an extension of my Facebook page. And that's where I just say post on the timeline, or post somewhere in that Facebook page pictures. I would love to see them and comment on them. And maybe you guys can even tell me what you guys did for 4th of July. That would be awesome. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this. This one was a really easy, quick one. And again, on Thursday night, we're going to be doing a campfire in the forest. And that one's going to be pretty easy, but it's going to definitely take a little bit longer. And you are going to, for sure, need to use a blow dryer because there's a lot of layers that you have to do for the campfire. But that one's pretty easy. Again, let's do a side-by-side comparison. I like the one I did tonight a little bit more than the one I did earlier. You guys can see that difference. I think the streaks and the water came out a little bit better. Separate those two. You can see them. And hopefully you guys really had a good time. Hopefully everybody got a chance to finish. And if not, remember, you guys can always stop the video, go back, repaint at a different time. You guys can do it on your time too. You don't have to always do it live with me if you guys don't want to. But again, this was a really easy painting, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope you love yours. I'm going to stay on for a few more seconds in case you guys have some questions that I can answer. And just stay tuned, because every Tuesday night we will be doing a beginner painting at 7 p.m. Thursday nights, 7 p.m. So yeah, hopefully you guys liked it. And hopefully you guys post on that Facebook so I could see it too. And make sure you guys clean out your brushes, because once they get dried out, it's really, really difficult to revive them. Just give them a good cleaning, and you can have a nice collection of brushes to use for later. If you guys put your lids back on your paints, you should be able to use them for about 2 weeks more before they dry up. Yep. Alright. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to log out here, and I think we're going to go to the pool. So maybe I'll see some of you guys there, okay? You guys take care. Bye.